Tony is here and welcome to the Oraimo Tilt review. So the Oraimo Tilt is actually the bigger brother to the Oraimo soundbar, and there are a few changes here and there, especially when it comes to the design. And let's see, does all these petty changes really add up to the price? So now let's start off with the design. So as you can clearly see, this is clearly a rectangle here with few curves at the edges, unlike the soundbar which had fully rounded edges. And speaking of the edges, as you can see, the tilt edges, the speaker grill doesn't really protrude out like that of the soundbar. And as you can clearly see, the soundbar speaker grill edges are not holding up at all. As you can see, there are scratches at the edges, and it's good to know Oraimo actually fixed it on the Big Brother or on the Oraimo Tilt. So speaking of the edges, the Oraimo brand is actually centered, and this is also cool, and it seems that everything about this speaker is actually centered. So when you look on top of the speaker here, you can clearly see the buttons are in the center. The soundbar had it to the right with the rotary switch as well, but here we have everything in the center. Look at the buttons. So you can clearly see the buttons are larger here. Also, the buttons have a slight crater on them, so it's quite ergonomical, as I would put it. And we also have the LEDs right beside the buttons as well. And back to the buttons. So when you press the button, it actually has a very satisfying feel as compared to that of the sound. You can see there's button travel here, and it actually gives you a satisfying clicky sound, which you don't get on the sound. So the sound bars buttons were flat, they actually had no crater on them, and there was no button travel at all. So this was very, very unsatisfying, and I'm very happy they actually improved it on the Oraimo Tilt. So back to the LED lights, we have a few LED lights beside the buttons. This is also useful because on the soundbar, you actually had it at the back of the speaker, and that wasn't very helpful at all. I'm glad we have it on top of it. So when I'm charging, I just have to look down on the speaker and I get to know if it's charging or not. So now let's talk about the back of the speaker, the rear of the speaker, as I'll put it. We have our micro USB port, we have our card reader, our micro SD card reader, we have our auxiliary port, and that is all. So on the soundbar, we actually had a USB-A port, which I never used. I don't know if people still use the USB-A port, but we don't have that on the Oraimo Tilt. So the name Tilt is actually reminiscent even in the name of the speaker, and you would even ask yourself, why tilt? So now the speaker can actually be positioned at a 45-degree angle. So first off, it's actually recommended on Oraimo's website that you can tilt the speaker to the 45-degree angle and actually face it to the wall for a more fuller and better music or sound experience. But the sound quality would actually be reduced because as you face the speaker to the wall and you play it and all, there are going to be slight distortions and things because now there's actually an object directly in front of the speaker. My personal take on the 45-degree angle tilt is this. So when it's flat on the surface, the direction of the sound is not actually to you. But when you tilt it, it actually faces you, and now you get that better experience. That's what I think, in my opinion. You can leave yours down in the comment section, and let's talk about that one. So with the design, that would be all about the design. I actually think it's better. We have improved buttons. I like the design and everything. It actually feels good in the hand as well. So I was thinking maybe because it's more of a rectangle and maybe it might have some sharp edges, but no, it actually has a more better feel, and it's slightly bigger than the soundbar, so you have something to hold on to. And I think it's the design is actually an upgrade. So this is actually a speaker, and obviously you would want to know how it sounds in the ear and how it feels and all those things. So first off, it's crisp, it's clear, it's louder. Obviously, it's a 16-watt speaker, so it's going to be louder than a 12-watt speaker. Distortions. Let's talk about distortions. So with the soundbar at higher volumes, you get distortions, but with the tilt, there's little to no distortions. So you just take a listen to the two of them and tell me. sounds way better than the soundbar and is actually an upgrade when it comes to the sound quality here. Okay, so batteries. So this is actually the most interesting part about this speaker here, the Oraimo Tilt. And it actually comes with some ups and downs. So stick with me on this. So let's start. So first off, this speaker comes with a 2000 milliamp hour battery, which is actually the same on the Oraimo soundbar. Oraimo quotes that we should be expecting about 12 hours of playtime with the Oraimo Tilt, and they also said the same thing about the Oraimo soundbar. Obviously, this is not true. This is a 16-watt speaker. The soundbar is a 12-watt speaker. So the soundbar is obviously going to have a longer battery life as compared to the Oraimo Tilt. So the soundbar actually lasts about an hour 30 minutes more than the tilt. Battery life is way better on the soundbar as compared to the tilt. The tilt actually fell short here, and that's the first downside with the batteries. But the battery experience actually got better. So first off, we actually have a battery indicator here. So when you connect the tilt to your phone or your device, you get battery level indication to tell you the percentage or the battery health of your speaker. And this is the first good thing. Finally, we have it. We don't actually have that on the soundbar, and I'm glad we do. So most speakers with batteries actually have some battery saving tricks up their sleeve to save battery when the battery of the speaker is actually drained or at a very low level. And the Oraimo Tilt also has some. So when the battery on the Oraimo Tilt is actually reduced, or let's say to a 30% level, this is what happens. So it will actually, and it will automatically do this, it will actually reduce the volume of the speaker to, let's say, about 5 to 10%, and you can turn it back on. So let's say when it's low, you whilst listening to your speaker, you'd actually hear that there's a reduction in the volume of the speaker, and you can just turn it back up to enjoy your music. Obviously, it also comes with a battery notification, battery low, and things like that. But on the Oraimo soundbar, it's not so. It's very bad. So on the Oraimo soundbar, you get the notification, battery low, please charge, and things like that. But it reduces the volume to about 30 to 40%, and this is insane. And the funny thing is, you cannot even turn it back up to the original volume to enjoy your music or anything like that. It's once this happens, it's on and you cannot change it or turn it off anyhow or anyway. The only thing you can do is to turn off the speaker and charge it to get it to a better battery health before you can get the full experience of the soundbar, and that is crazy. But with the tilt, when you reduce the volume by 5%, you can actually just turn it back up to the higher volume and still enjoy the experience. But with the soundbar, it's crazy. You can't do anything about it. So most speakers have this trick up their sleeve. Some actually change the EQ of the sound itself. They don't reduce the volume. They actually change the individual components of the music, the bass and things like that, to save battery. And I actually think the Oraimo Tilt's battery saving trick is actually the best I've actually experienced with most of the speakers I've actually used. So there's actually a thumbs up here. And I think it's cool. Okay, so let's move on to extras. Then we'll end with the bad things. Things I didn't really like about the Oraimo Tilt. So with the extras. So first off, we have Bluetooth 5.0 here, same as the soundbar. We have metal speaker grills here. We have a plastic body. So now let's talk about the bad. So first off, the battery level indicator is not accurate at all. It starts here. So whenever you charge your tilt to full battery and you unplug it from the charger, the battery indicator always seems to tell you that your speaker is at 90% battery health. And no matter how you charge it, I even charged it overnight and I still got 90%. So it means with the battery level indicator, we are not getting 100% battery health here. It's always at 90%. And this is a bug, it's no good at all. The next issue here is when the battery indicator hits 50%, some crazy bug also comes in. So when it's at 50%, you play music to a particular time, then it bumps up to 60% again, goes back to 50%, and it just keeps jumping between these percentages. I don't really get it. So when I got the speaker first, I actually saw this. I took a screenshot of it. I thought it was a minor bug or something. And then recently I took multiple screenshots, and as you can see, it just keeps switching between 50 and 60, and I don't really know how it goes. And when it gets to 30%, you don't really see it going to 20. It just tells you battery low and just goes up. So I think the biggest issue with the tilt is actually with the battery level indicator here. It's a cool feature to have, but now it's filled with bugs and messes with the experience as well. So this is my review about the Oraimo Tilt. I think the sound experience here is way better than the soundbar. Crisper sounds, less distortion. It's just great. But the battery experience is good, but with the bugs and the indicator, it leaves much to be wanted. So first off, I think this is the first upgrade we've had from the soundbar. But I think with the battery level indication, since this is the first speaker they've actually implemented it on, I think a 20-watt speaker would be the next step. I think Oraimo needs to give us a 20-watt speaker. They shouldn't have given us the 16 watts. They should have given us a 20-watt speaker. And I think this should be the next speaker they should be working on or planning on releasing. A 20-watt speaker is better, and if they are to add a small price tag to it, I'll still get the 20-watt speaker. And I think they should fix all these petty issues with it. And that's all I have to say about the Rhino Tilt. So don't forget to subscribe, like, share it with a few friends. And I think this might be my next speaker of the year if I don't buy another speaker, of course. I had some good time with the Rhino Tilt. So see you next time.